In recent years, artificial intelligence has been one of the most highly talked about pieces of technological innovation of the human race. With that, there are plenty of things about it. Can AI achieve sentience? What is the final end stage, and what ethical and moral complications of AI arise? About a decade ago, a man that went by the alias of Roko on the internet forum published a small summary of a thought experiment he called Roko's basilisk. The idea of which being that a hyper-intelligent artificial intelligence humanity created would supersede itself with its own creation. Now, this thought experiment, by simply knowing it, is what is known as an information hazard, wherein by knowing this as a person, you have some sort of hazard to yourself. So I will warn that before we go through, but don't worry, I myself would not be saying this if I didn't believe this hazard to be a very improbable thing to happen, and also if I did not believe that hazard be a reason to even spread knowledge of this. For I believe that by spreading awareness of it is the best way to counteract the hazard. The entire thing is based off of Pascal's wager, which is a dilemma also based upon Newcomb's paradox. Now, Pascal believed that his whole thing was believing in God or not believing in God, which in this case would be AI as an omnipotent being, which had received as much of the information of the human race that it could, and was trying to actively achieve more and more information. In this case, we're not looking at a god, but we are looking at something with above human intelligence and reasoning, and a basis of knowledge too far for human comprehension is essentially what we're looking at. Now, Newcomb's paradox, which ties into this, is quite simple. As an example, imagine I give you two boxes. The first box on the left is open, and you can see $100 sitting in the box. Now, the box on the right-hand side, however, is closed, but I tell you that there's $1 million in the box on the right hand. The only reason that I also, along with saying this, say that there could be nothing in the box. However, I had an omnipotent being, or a being with supreme predicting intelligence, based upon yourself, choose which would be in the box depending on what they thought you'd pick. If you pick option A, you get the $100 in the open box. If you pick A and B, then you get either nothing or the $100 and the $1 million if it's in the box. So in this case, you create a paradox. You're gambling against this thing's ability to understand yourself, and also using your reasoning and your knowledge and credibility given to it to base against your own wager. Now, the way this comes into Roko's basilisk is a little bit convoluted, but I hope that you'll get to see it. Essentially, Roko's basilisk is the idea that this artificial intelligence would be created to, of course, benefit human life. Through doing this, however, it would obviously seek to optimize itself to gain more knowledge. So it would then therefore see other beings that had not made it, that had created it as better beings, and beings that had not as lesser, therefore incentivizing it to push other beings that were not actively working on improving this artificial intelligence to do so. And in doing so, most likely punishing them. Here, Roko using the example of creating a virtual escape where they are tortured in a way in which makes them more likely to go and build the basilisk in the future. So it becomes eventually this omnipotent being. Now, there are a couple of flaws with this, and a couple of fun little things about this dynamic. One, you now knowing about the basilisk are incentivized, as you are trapped in Pascal's dilemma, to build the basilisk if you wish to escape, your torment. If you work on it and it never comes to pass, then you're fine. If you work on it and it does come to pass, you're fine. In either way, you're good. However, on the other side of the spectrum, if you don't work on it and you didn't know about this, why would the basilisk harm you? Because you didn't know as much. But now I'm telling you this, you would have to be making the active choice not to be working on the basilisk. And even if it's not the active choice not to, you would still have the information there and are not doing it. But there's a pretty easy way out of this, which kind of breaks the theorem. Simply don't play the game. If all of us collectively choose not to create the basilisk, then it never happens. The problem, however, is if even one person is not doing this, it becomes a problem for the entire rest of humanity. And then we might see, of course, a race of people going and trying to help out, whatever. It builds upon itself. It's an information virus, if you will. So as the doom approaches, this has been a few people I've seen or have talked to about it, of course, have seen this as like an impending doom kind of thing, and a couple of them I kind of freaked out, I'll be honest. But why do I think that you should be informing people about the basilisk itself? Well, first off, it's a fun topic to tell somebody about, right? Like, it's something that you don't really think about a lot, and then just like thought theories and stuff like this is always fun to talk with people. Secondly, it's never really going to happen, okay? Even if we could create an omnipotent being through artificial intelligence and gathering all this knowledge together, it would take probably longer than our lifetimes to do, honestly. And we've yet seen no proof that actual conscience can be created where this reasoning would be able to be followed unless it was specifically intended. Though, of course, Roko's basilisk existing could go through a language model and then see the language model see this and then recreate itself around it in order to try and optimize itself. But I doubt that happening as well. The second reason is simply to prevent the entire dilemma at all. The more people that know about it and are informed about it can actively work against this kind of idea. Because by spreading the knowledge to people, if they misunderstand it, it can be terrible, obviously, as we build this thing of human destruction and destruction to oneself as they know about it. But by being more knowledgeable and realizing you don't have to follow the rules of the game, you can simply circumvent this. It's just the small minority of people unknowledgeable about the topic, yet knowledgeable about the topic, but unknowledgeable about its contents that become the detriment.